Thank you so much. Just before I kick off, I just wanted to kick off with a video that talks a little bit about the story and the transformation that Dell have been through. So we're going to roll the video first, and then I'll be back.
At the beginning of the development of what we know of as the PC today, it took a very long time for the technology to actually get all the way through the manufacturers, through the stores, and then to the customer. And I kind of said, oh, it's got to be a better way to do this.
Like all good tech success stories, it started in a college dorm room. That's where Michael Dell would build computers and sell them directly to his classmates.
IBM and Compaq and other computer manufacturers weren't really offering a lot of service and value to users.
I remember the beginnings with great clarity. And it wasn't tidy, it never is.
I think if I was to give you any word in the first couple of years, it would have been survival.
In the blink of an eye, the business just could have completely disappeared.
He was a 21-year-old college dropout against IBM. It was charming, but he didn't have a chance.
We screwed up a lot of things, but the one thing that we really got right was this core business model.
Thanks for calling Dell. What can we build for you?
Well, my family needs a new computer.
Great, let's get started.
In the first year, it was about $33 million. The second year was like 60-something million.
I mean, we're really getting traction. And Goldman Sachs says, we're all ready to take you public. They said, well, there were 100 deals that were scheduled to close today, and 99 of them didn't. I think I went, yeah. And they said, congratulations. And we were launched.
In the first 8 years, the company grew 80% per year. And the 6 years after that, it grew 60% per year.
In a very short period of time, we've garnered nearly half of the marketplace.
It just took off like unbelievably fast.
The customer relationships that we have are tremendous. The future of technology is defined by change, but the destiny of a company is defined by commitment. You got to tolerate risk, and you got to be open about it and say, we appreciate risk-taking.
The worst thing you can do is try to do it all yourself. It's more having a great team of people that are all aligned around common goals.
Our people tend to embrace change, and they tend to view change as something that's a good thing.
It's a great day for us and a fantastic time to be at Dell.
From the classroom to medical research, from neighbors in need to the surface of Mars, innovative ideas making the world a better place. A commitment to challenge the status quo again. That's why we're going private, to be fast and focused, to bring innovation forward, a return to our entrepreneurial roots.
We're playing offense. We're on the attack. We're growing, expanding our share. This is the Dell that many of you are very, very familiar with, and you're going to see it in all of its glory.
Strap yourself on. Here we go, baby.
So every time I watch this video, I'm just like cracking up looking at Michael with those glasses. You just gotta love that look of that 80s glasses. But that guy was 19 years old. He was sitting in his dorm room and buying a computer and thinking that the price of that was a little bit too high, pulling the parts apart and thinking, I can do this smarter. Now, 30 years later, we're a billion-dollar company. We are a company that has 110,000 employees worldwide and represented in almost all countries around the globe. So I think the guy with the strange glasses really got something right. So as said, my name is Anja Monrad. I am responsible for what we call Central and Eastern Europe. It's 31 countries around this region. And it is my first time, I must admit with shame, in Lithuania. But I'm super glad and happy to get an opportunity to meet with you here at this event today. And talk a little bit about Dell and the transformation that we have been through as a company and where we see our focus and the market going forward. So just kicking off, I hope this is going to work. It's not. So while somebody is going to fix this moving forward, so as said, Michael started the company way back in '84. And 5 years later, we went public. So he took the company from being a small startup to a public company. And you saw some of the impressive numbers about the share prices and the going on the IPO in the video just before. But just recently, back in end of October last year, we went private again. And there was a lot of, thank you, there was a lot of press about that and a lot of fight. There was some minor shareholders that wanted the direction of the company to go a little bit of a different way than Michael. But in the end, Michael managed to buy the company back. And he went from being before a 16% shareholder to now being a 75% shareholder. And the rest of the company, we have capital from Microsoft and we have capital from Silver Lake Technologies, a venture capital company. So there's been a lot of discussion. So why did you decide, after so many years being a publicly traded company, to go private? And Michael had been asked over and over again, and he's been very, very bold in his statement, saying that the only reason for being a publicly traded company is if you need the cash. If you don't need the money, don't go there, because you're going to give up a lot of your freedom. And we believe that as a privately owned company, we can actually accelerate the strategy and the transformation that we are on right now. If you're a publicly traded company, you have like 90 days between your quarterly reports to make your results. So you start having this 89 days of strategy planning, and once you get to 89 days, you have to deliver results. And then you go into the next 89 days of strategy planning. And being a publicly traded company, there's also, every time we grew the top line, we got feedback saying, hey, you're not profitable. You're not profitable enough. Every time we delivered profit, we got feedback saying, hey, you're not taking share. And if you're a company that want to focus on customers, want to focus on transforming yourself, at some point of time, if you got some money, it's a good idea to take them out of your pocket and say, hey, we're going to go private. We're going to be owning our own destiny in this area. So that's what Michael did back in October. And as a private company, we have one single-minded focus, and that's delivering end-to-end solutions for our customers. If we get happy customers, both the top line and the profit is going to follow automatically. So the single-minded purpose we have as a company now is helping those companies and people to grow and thrive and reach their full potential. So with that, we started as a change agent. So Michael was sitting there in the dorm room thinking, we can get this supply chain model working way better. I can get individually configured computers out to the marketplace way better, way cheaper than anyone else. And that was how we revolutionized the whole industry from the beginning. So we were the masters and still are considered the masters of supply chain. But within the area of IT, we set out a couple of customer goals, and we said, we want to simplify the complex. This should not be so difficult. It should be easy to do business with Dell. It should be easy to apply computers and IT in your company. We wanted to make the powerful easy to use, making sure that we get technology out in the hands of as many people as possible. Having technology is helping customers and companies grow and thrive, and we want to make sure that we can support that. Driving out inefficiencies. For many, many years, we were looking at a business model where you could trade directly with us over the internet, over the phone, the most simple way of just getting the computers out. But it's also driving out inefficiencies in the way that we design systems and make sure that there's no technology in innovations into systems that are not needed. We're not innovating for the sake of innovation. We're making innovations for the sake of making useful systems. And that all that together should drive some long-term value for our customers. So from the very, very beginning of the start of the company, Michael was listening to what his peer students wanted in terms of computers. And as the company started growing, we were doing direct relationships with our customers, and we were listening to their needs and what they wanted, and using that information to drive our strategy and our innovations. That goes on today as well. So the customer imperatives that we're listening and we're hearing in the marketplace today are centered around four areas. So it's around the cloud, it's around convergence of IT infrastructure, it's around mobility, it's around big data, and around security. So those are the four pillars that we hear customers and companies focus on, and where we can engage as an IT vendor and help them drive their business. So let's just look at some of these. So around the whole area around cloud, around transforming the efficiency of IT. There is a lot of surveys done, and most companies are saying that over the next couple of years, they are going to go to the cloud. Some of them are talking about private cloud, some of them are talking about public or hybrid clouds, but this whole area of cloud is being used and discussed much more with our customers today, and that's an area that we're definitely supporting. So it's breaking down the silos of the different legacy IT systems and providing the opportunity for companies to actually start new business models. When I finished business school many, many, many years ago, I was actually considering for a time to become an entrepreneur, and my mom, my dad had their own companies, and I thought, that's the way that I'm going to go. But back then, you needed an office, you needed IT infrastructure, you definitely needed a paper with a nice logo on, but I think that still goes today. But for the rest of it, setting up a company with the cloud technology today is way more easier. I've met a lot of interesting startups over the last couple of months when I've been traveling around the region. And a couple of them, it's just like, getting some space in the cloud, using crowdsourcing to get employees, not even hiring anyone on a permanent basis, but using crowdsourcing as a task-by-task utilization of workforce, and then you're basically ready to go with a global company. There's a fantastic company I met a couple of months ago called Crowdcurity. They check applications for bugs and for double check whether you can get in as a hacker. They have no permanent employees, they have no office at all. One guy is sitting in Brazil, one guy is sitting in London, and one guy is sitting in Copenhagen. And they run this global company virtually through the cloud. So a lot of opportunities for startups with the new technology. The next imperative is around connectivity, connecting the mobile workforce. So there's a lot of devices, and there's what we call consumerization of IT, so bringing consumer products into the enterprise in some way. Today, 60% of all of the devices used in companies are company issued, and around 38%, the other 62%, 38% are privately brought into the company, either as bring your own device or choose your own device. So it'd be tablets like the 7-inch tablet that, by the way, is going to be launching in Lithuania about the back-to-school type time frame, so you can see it out in the booth. But devices like that, we're seeing more and more, and all of the analysis shows that that going forward, it's actually going to swap. So we're going to have 60% of people bringing in their own devices, and 30% of 40% using the company-issued devices. So with that, there's a lot of flexibility, but it also brings a lot of challenges in terms of manageability of all of these devices and the security around this whole area. So that's another one. Another one that I just wanted to show you in the area of mobility is this thin client. It's a Wise Cloud Connect. It's a new device that we just recently launched. So it's actually a thin computer. So it's a thin device, thin client device. You can plug it in when you're traveling in your hotel room. You can use your Android tablet as a keyboard, and then you're actually having access to all your company data. So, and all of your company applications. So the world is definitely changing in terms of how we're going to see mobility and connectivity going forward. So, oh, okay, but that's fine. And then, so the next one, just looking at, is Inform. So that's the whole area around big data. Dell started off, as I mentioned before, as a direct company. And in the marketing area, we have been mining and using customer data from the very, very beginning. So back in my beginning of my career 14 years ago in Dell, I was actually managing the marketing department in the Nordic countries. And we were using big data back then. We would put in all of our ads, all of our direct mails, everything we sent out. We had a unique phone number. So every single time somebody called in on an ad or a direct mail piece, we would track exactly which piece they were calling from. So we would have a different phone number in the ad on the Monday, a different phone number in the ad on the Tuesday. We would have a different phone number for the ones with 4 bundles and the ones that only had 1 product in them. And we would constantly mine that data, so we knew that Wednesday, page 16, 2 bundles, was the best way to market our products. And when we were having conversations with newspapers, with media agencies, and they came in and talked about what we could use and where we should market, we would always pull out our data and say, hey guys, we know better. And we still do this, not just in this area, in the area of behavioral marketing, behavioral targeting online, in terms of CRM, really looking into how can we use the customer data to drive our best go-to-market strategy. And just last quarter, Michael just went out a couple of weeks ago and said publicly that we have, just last quarter, had an incremental revenue of $310 million based on the way that we did our CRM marketing in the US. So definitely an area that going to increase, and the whole convergence of marketing and IT is a super exciting area that we're very, very engaged in. So turning data into insights. And the last area around protection. Again, security is becoming a bigger and bigger topic. 79% of companies surveyed said that they have had some kind of security breach within the last year. Whether it had financial or reputational damage to their company, 79% of them said that they had experienced that. And that's most likely only the ones that publicly admit to have been part of a security breach. There's probably the 21% left have either not noticed or don't feel too embarrassed to go out and publicly say so. So those are the areas that we're hearing, and those are the areas that we as a company are addressing with the partners that we have in the marketplace. So very, very different from the PC-only company we were that when we started off way back in '84. But that does not mean that we're not focusing on the client space. Again, there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of stories being told while we were going private that Dell is pulling out of the consumer space. That is not true. We're not pulling out of the consumer space. We're not pulling out of the client space. I just spoke about the whole mobility consumerization of IT area, talked about how important those bring-your-own devices are going to be. We want to make sure that those bring-your-own devices are going to be bring-your-own Dells. So we're definitely going to stay in that area. Again, out in the booth out here, you'll be able to see some of these devices. So we have the hybrids like the XPS 12 up in the corner up there. But we have the whole range from end to end, from from the 7-inch tablets to the data center. So also in a presentation at 1 o'clock, my colleague Selman Zanova is going to talk about how to take the data center and the cloud and put it under your desk. So that's that nice server product up there that can talk about having a data center in one box. But end-to-end. But with that is also obviously a lot of other products. So here a little bit more about the tablets that are going to launch here in the summer timeframe. But much more than that, end-to-end solutions require more than products and more than boxes. And over the last couple of years, we've invested billions of dollars in IP that supports the 4 areas that I talked about before. So here's a lot of company logos. You may know some of them from this marketplace, but those are startups that were niche-specific in some areas, grew into big companies, and that now fits into the portfolio we have as a company. So a lot of other areas of Dell. So bringing all of that together, I've spoke about our purpose of delivering IT solutions to companies to make them grow and thrive and reach their full potential. Because in the end, it's not about the technology, it's about what you do with it and how you can make the technology work to change the world. So that's how we see the whole area. But the buyout, as I spoke about before, is going to accelerate that strategy. We are going to have the opportunity of investing more in research and development. We are going to have the opportunity of investing more in sales coverage in the areas of emerging market, as we also call it. So really also focusing on growing the PC and mobility area. But Dell is much more than just a IT company that focuses on driving solutions. We're also a global company with a global corporate social responsibility. And there was questions again when we went private saying, hey, now you're not a publicly traded company anymore. So all of these nice things that you're doing, you're going to stop doing all of these things. And nothing is more wrong than that. We're actually, again, accelerating our focus in a couple of areas. And one of them is a corporate sociability report that we've just issued that we call the Legacy of Good. It's a 2020 plan that really focuses around the environment, the community, and the people. And just on the area of environment, we are the first IT company that have committed to reducing the power usage in the systems by 80%. We can talk a lot about, which cars are we driving internally in the company? Are we switching off the light when we leave the office? Are we turning off the water? But in the end, it's all of the IT equipment that we have out there that is going to make the huge difference. So our commitment to reduce the power consumption there is going to have a huge impact on the environment. Other areas, again, so all in all of that, it's a transformation journey that we've been on, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but in a presentation like this, you need to have a slide that talks a little bit about the successes that you've had. We're very strong in the Lithuanian market, and we have some very, very strong footprint in the global IT industry. And we're using all of that knowledge to actually help others. Because for us, technology, as I've mentioned, is about enabling human potential. It's about finding those things in companies that can make them change the world. So not a long time ago, we reached a website that we created a program about entrepreneurship. Michael is an entrepreneur. It's very, very deep into his heart. And we have a whole community on entrepreneurship being built online. So I just want to show you a little bit on what we're doing on the entrepreneur side, and then talk a little bit more on this area. Oh, we're missing some sound here. There's no sound? Okay, we'll watch it in silence, and there's a link afterwards, and you can go into the website and take a look at it. But basically, what we're trying to do here is bringing entrepreneurs in the world together, and using, whether it's whether it's our capital, so we have a venture capital fund that Michael Dell and Susan Dell Foundation has gone into, helping entrepreneur companies around the world. But also creating a community where entrepreneurs can learn from each other and share ideas. Because just like we have the roots of being an entrepreneur, we do believe that this is what is going to be changing the world going forward. So I encourage you to go into the website, dell.com/ I think it's called Entrepreneurs. It's going to be shown in a minute. And just read much more if you're interested in that area. Read much more about how you can engage with entrepreneurs around the world and how you can engage with Dell and get some of that knowledge that we have learned and use that to drive your company. So just move on to the next. Okay. Super. So another area of entrepreneurship that I just wanted to mention, and I see some few women in the room, and always when we're doing IT conferences, there's less women than men in the audience. But we have a very, very strong focus of getting females into the IT industry, and even more so getting female entrepreneurs. Because there has been over and over again research proven that if we can get female-owned businesses in some of the developing countries, the whole society and community in those countries are growing much more than if those companies are owned by men. So it is really an area that we've put a lot of efforts in. And we have another whole program that's called Pay It Forward, where females in IT, female entrepreneurs from around the world, not just from IT, but from different industries, have come together to help other female entrepreneurs grow and thrive in their businesses. So again, we call it the Dell Women's Entrepreneur Network, a whole community where you can engage with other female entrepreneurs and get support for your business ideas. And then last but not least, just wanted to finish up with a new campaign that we've started up a couple of months ago when we went private. It's called the Dell Beginners Campaign. Again, it celebrates all of these entrepreneurial roots and all of these companies that starts into small and grow up to become way, way better. So some of those companies you're going to see in a second, but it's always around the power to do more. Whatever you're good at, we want to be there on your journey to help you reach your full potential. So around New Year, we did a big launch of this campaign at Times Square. We asked people, what would be your more? So if you had the power to do more, what would you go and do? And it was great to see the engagement and the ideas of all of these things. And again, some of these things are IT related, and we can take that into our innovations. But in the end, I just wanted to hopefully show a last video that is going to show you the campaign, the Dell Beginners Campaign. And we don't have any sound.
The story of the little room over the pizza place at 315 Chestnut Street, the modest first-floor bedroom in Tallinn, Estonia, and the dusty basement at 1406 35th Street. It is the story of the old dining room table at 25th and Hoffman Avenue, the southbound bus barreling down I-95, and the second floor above the strip mall at Roble and El Camino.
This magic moment.
It is the story of where every great idea begins.
So different and so new.
Where those with endless vision and an equal amount of audaciousness believed they had the power to do more, time and time again. At Dell, we're honored to be part of some of the world's great stories. Stories that began much the same way ours did, in a little dorm room, number 2713.
This magic moment.
Okay, so that was just a short overview of how we're seeing the world evolving, where we're focusing, and the journey that we've been on as a company. I've put up my Twitter handle up there, so if there's anything that you guys want to do and stay in touch going forward, feel free to do so. And then I think we got a little bit of time.
All right, so we still have time for some questions. First of all, thank you so much for the talk.
Thank you.
Do you mind if we take a seat? Because
Sure.
I think we've time for that. So a few things they actually mentioned, if you could elaborate a little bit more, are of interest in Lithuania. The first one is entrepreneurship. So you mentioned it's online, but I think you can speak a little bit about that. And also women in technology. So that's a big topic nowadays, everywhere, wherever you go, US especially, but also going into these markets. So entrepreneurship and then
Yeah, so if we start with the entrepreneurship, obviously, we are an entrepreneurial company, and just like all of the companies that we saw in that spot we just showed, impressive Salesforce.com, Whole Foods, fantastic company. Every company, whatever big it is today, started off at some point as an entrepreneurial company. And Michael have always had a huge passion for those type of companies. In the end, if you look at that picture of him with the big glasses, Michael is a computer nerd. I hope he's not being offended by me saying so, but he has a huge passion for the technology and what it does. So if there's any way that we can help other companies in achieving their potential, we're definitely behind that. So whether it's financial support, whether it's knowledge, creating communities. We hear over and over again that small companies feel alone. They don't know. There's a lot of things that they would wish that they could just connect with other companies and get advice for something that others did. So we're trying to create that community. And that got us moved into the whole women entrepreneurial campaign, because there is not that many female entrepreneurs and not that many female entrepreneurs within IT. So that got us going in that area and saying, if research is showing that giving the computer or a microloan to a woman in Africa is going to not just mean something for her, but for the whole community in that city or that town, maybe that's where we can make a difference. And maybe that's where we can come in and, again, help all communities grow and thrive. So we created Dwen, as we call it. We've had 4 global events. We bring entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs from all around the world together and give them, again, a couple of days of good advice, help, and they learn from each other. So, so definitely a focus area.
The other question, so as you know, Anja is responsible for Central and Eastern Europe. My question would be, what are the main targets within the region, and then going smaller, the Baltics region, and then finally Lithuania, how that changes?
The targets in terms of what we want to achieve here?
Exactly.
Yeah, so obviously, the strategy we have in this market is not different from the strategy we have overarching, like as Dell. I'm not going to share with you the target that I give my team that they have to reach on a yearly basis, but we have huge expectations for the emerging markets, and especially for the part of the region that I'm managing. There is a lot of investments going into building infrastructure, whether it's being in the public sector of healthcare, of education. There's a lot of startups that are getting success. Software companies around this region that exports a lot of software and services. So there's a very interesting IT society, and if you take that even further down to the Baltics, this is an area where the whole digital convergence IT startup is really booming much more in other parts of my region. So very, very interesting, and this event is kind of a proof point on why this is a great place to be for us as a company here. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in this region, and we're definitely here to tap into that.
Okay, and the final question before you go. So the topic of this conference is Internet of Things. What is Dell doing in that area? What are the expectations? Also, forecasts, where are we going? When is it in every man's house?
Yeah. So if you think back probably 10, 13 years ago, Dell was known as the inventor of internet online trade, right? We were the biggest website, the biggest online website in terms of trade. We're still one of the biggest worldwide. Obviously, you can name companies like Amazon and others that are also up there, but if you look at pure revenue, we're still one of the biggest online trading portals around the world. And that area is continuously developing, whether it is the public trading online or whether it is the more privately privately trade platforms that we create with our customers. And that continues. It continues into public governments. Many countries now starting to have only online invoicing between companies and publics. There's more and more use of the internet and internet applications of just education, again, healthcare, all of that type of information. So we're definitely supporting all of that development. But there's the whole other area that we also just heard about in the presentation before about social media.
Sure.
And again, it's an area that Dell have entrepreneured from the very beginning. We were the first big corporate company to go into social media.
Oh, wow.
And actually, 4 years ago, named as the most social brand of the world. So we were the first to have a LinkedIn page. We were the first ones to engage with customers and customer care on Twitter. We have a command center. It sounds very Houston, we got a problem-ish, but it is a command center where we are monitoring all of conversations that goes on about Dell worldwide, 24/7.
Wow.
And if somebody has a problem and they go in on Twitter and say, hey, you know, this computer arrived late and there was something broken in it, and that happens, unfortunately, you know, we can react within minutes and go back to that person and say, hey, we're sorry to hear that. Please engage with us this and this way. And in that way, you can actually start engaging with people in a one-on-one conversation, just like we did way back when we started. But now with social media, it's kind of like full circle. We're back to those one-on-one conversations with companies.
Okay.
So we encourage other companies to go there. It's not, we train all our people, encourage people to be on Facebook, encourage people to be on YouTube, Pinterest, whatever it is, even while they're working, because our customers are there. So.
Sure. Okay, one final message for the audience.
No, you know, happy to be here. I hope I get a couple of more chances of coming back to Lithuania. I think, you know, the conference, this combination of IT, startups, venture capital, great dynamics, very vibrant. So glad to be here.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll be back at 1 p.m. We'll call a short break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.